there's just a specific way that you answer, respond, and it's very military, honestly, I've
It
heard.
is.
It's I believe that's where it really came from, but a lot of it is the way I can describe it is like if you were blind, like how would you know somebody heard your message, understood your message, and is working on your message, right? Because and you're delivering this to, however big your crew is.
This episode is brought to you by the best-selling book, Rise of the Film Entrepreneur, How to Turn Your Independent Film into a Money-Making Business. Learn more at filmbizbook.com. I'd like to welcome to the show, Christine Chen. How you doing, Christine?
I'm good. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for coming on the show. I've done 600 plus episodes right now at this point, as of this recording, and I've never done a kind of on-set survival guide for not only PAs, but specifically for PAs and interns and on-set interns, but also for crew members and new crew members in different departments that just don't understand the carny language that
Correct.
is a film set. So you guys decided to write a book called Get
Get
Reelisms,
realisms.
which,
Yes.
by the way, it is as simple, beautifully, it's not like it's as you could, if you guys can see, it's all pretty pictures and everything. So it's real, like it's to the point, and it's a book that I wish I would have had when I started out. I'm sure you feel the same.
That's why we created it. Yeah, I'm glad you pointed that out. That's exactly why we created it. So I got started in the industry in like 2000 and 2000 and Jesus, 15, 14, around then.
Sure.
And yeah, I remember going on my first set and somebody asking me for a stinger, and I had no clue what that was. No
Right.
clue. And nobody tells you this. You just get thrown into the wolves, and the film set is super high paced, and you're already stressed out that you want to make a good impression because you finally got onto a film set. And someone's like, get a stinger. I'm like, I don't know what the F that is. And so the only option at that point is to hopefully snag a crew member that has the time and patience to explain it to you. But then you have the fear of just showing that you don't know what you're doing. I mean, not that you going around on the set is not enough to show that you don't know what you're doing, but like to just add insult to that, to be that obvious that you don't even know how people talk on set is even worse. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, look, we will know if you're new on set. That's within 3 to 4 minutes of just seeing the way
exactly.
If they're like, wow, this is cool, they're brand new.
They're brand spanking new. I know.
They have little sparkles in their eyes, brand spanking new. Then you've got the grizzled grip that just walks by, has been doing it for 25 years. That I'm like, there you go. That's yeah. He doesn't care about any movie stars. Anything. He's like, I'm here for a job. You want me to push the dolly? I'll push the dolly. That's as simple as that. But no, when I first got started out, I was thrown into the wolves, and I was going to a technical film school that actually taught you some of these things. So I went to Full Sail in Orlando, where it's a very technical film school. At least it was when I was there. And I knew what a stinger was, but there's still this carny language of, an apple box and a honey wagon and crafty and all of these things that you just don't know. And you and I take it for granted because we've been on set a ton of times over the years. But when you're first on set, you're nervous as hell. And the thing is, anyone listening who gets on set for the first time, they just have to understand that most people on the crew, depending on who you get on and what type of day you get, understand that you know nothing. And if you're a PA, it's expected you know nothing, unless you're like the 45-year-old PA, and that's another conversation.
Yes.
So, because I've met those guys, I'm like,
yeah, me too.
Have you ever thought of going into a department? Nope. Solid. I'm like, all right, brother, you do you. So let me ask you the first question. Why did you want to get into this insanity, this carny world that is the film business?
When I wake up at like 4 a.m. to get on set, I ask myself that every time.
Why am I doing this to myself?
Why did we do this to ourselves? Or I'm on the fifth overnight. I'm like, why am I doing this again? And then you get through it, and then the next day you wake up and let's say you're off. You're like, wait, why am I not on set? And so
Isn't that weird?
It's weird. It's a very strange thing. And I tell new filmmakers this all the time. You'll know if you belong or you don't. You'll go on, you'll complain, you'll get off. Maybe not one day. Maybe you give you like 2 or 3 days, and if you feel the itch, then you just know. I was in documentary filmmaking actually before I went on set. I had been a one-man band for a while. In undergrad, you have to be a well-rounded person. So they say, you have to do a credit in art class. And so I fell into filmmaking at that point. I chose an intro to documentary filmmaking course, Rice University, and loved it. I loved the editing part. I loved the telling the story part, everything. And that was all I knew. And I thought, okay, cool. That was a fun hobby, and I'll never deal with filmmaking again. But I should have known that things were going to change after that, because the proportion of time that I spent on that class, the intro to class, was probably like 70% of my time, and then like the rest of my 10 classes was like the last 10% if you add like parting and all the other stuff to it. But my culture, I'm a first generation Taiwanese American. You don't pursue stuff like filmmaking or art of any sort. You're a doctor, an engineer, something practical, that will give you a steady 9-to-5 job. And it took me doing one of those jobs. I was a IT consultant after I graduated, that I realized I didn't want to do that. And I was searching for myself as to what I was going to do. And for some reason landed on being a lawyer. And so you have to take the LSATs to be able to even qualify. And to do that, there's prep courses and stuff. And I'm terrible at taking tests. So I took one of those courses. And, the universe has a way of laughing at you. My LSAT teacher was a filmmaker. And it was in Houston at that time. And he, I guess, had a group that was doing the 48-hour film festival thing. Mm-hmm. He was like, hey, you want to be a PA? No clue what that was. Because there aren't PAs in intro to documentary film at all. You are one person. You do everything yourself. So I'm like, yeah, sure. No clue. Show up, and now I know what was actually doing. I was the second AC, but it was PAing, but they gave me a slate, and I was the happiest person ever. I was like, oh my God, I have such an important job. I'm using a slate. Writing around this thing that people wanted to take pictures with, and it clicked. I don't know what happened. They say there's divine intervention. Some people go on and have a light bulb moment. And I definitely would say I had a light bulb moment. I just felt like I belonged, and that this crazy world was something that I really just loved. And it really just took that one set. I just remember being fascinated with everyone's job, which is not common for me. Usually, like, my dad's in engineering. I'll ask like one sentence. He tells me like 5 sentences, and I like tune out after 2 words, But on this film set, every single job was fascinating to me. I'd never seen a follow focus before. I just, stared at that for a very long time. And then, grab water for like the grip, and I was like watching them build stuff and never seen that before. And looking at the makeup, and just everything was cool. Now I lucked out because the set that I got on, they actually knew what they were doing. I could have been on a shit show, but it was not. And I forgot, am I allowed to cuss on this? I can't remember.
Too late. Go ahead.
Okay.
I mean, we're talking about sets here.
Okay,
so
good.
No one ever curses on a set. So
let's just try not at all.
As much cursing as you do on set or here on set, that's as much as you can do here.
Okay. That's very bad. Okay. Yeah.
But let me add, I mean, you know what? When I was on a set for the first time too, it is very intoxicating.
Mm-hmm.
It's an intoxicating environment. If you're in a good set, I mean, I've been on both. I've been on bad sets.
Oh yeah.
Egos going out of crazy. And then things just like you said, a shit show. Like they just don't know what they're doing. They can't make their day. They're just a bunch of monkeys running around, with a camera trying to do something. So I've been on those sets. And then and then when you walk on a professional set, working on a studio project or network project, and you just see these grizzled veterans who work like a well-oiled machine. And what's fascinating is that a lot of times you'll go on the first day and everyone's on there for the first day. And yeah, there might be a few people who know each other, but generally speaking, everyone's new on that set to each other. And they still run like a well-oiled machine because they all understand their part in the machine. And it only problems I ever see on set is when people overstep their lane. They want to do this, or the DP wants to be the director wants to be the lighting guy,
stay in your department. Yes,
exactly. Or like it's all about the dress. No, it's not. It's all about the
no,
apron.
It's not.
It's all about the curtains in the back. No, it's not, dude. So we need 5 hours for the curtains. No, you ain't got 5 hours for the curtains. You got 5 minutes. So let's move along. So you've been on set so many times, and obviously continues to work on sets. What is the biggest like newbie mistake you see that PAs make on day one, or on set interns too? This kind of goes for both.
Sure. I think for me is people going in feeling entitled. And when I say entitled, it means like, I think people have from the outside world, you see the red carpets, you see the, Entertainment Tonight, and you see the people dressed up. And I think people going in and thinking like, oh, because I'm a director, or an aspiring director, I'm going to be able to jump positions and just start letting my opinion matters, and sure, to a certain extent, but like, I think people forgetting that all the people that are on set started off and worked their way up to where they are and earned the right to be there. And I think newbie mistake is thinking that things are below them. Like, oh, I don't need to get water for people or take the trash. It's like, that's labor, that's below me, and I think no matter how veteran you are on set, you will realize, I feel like if you are a good crew member, there will never be a job that is below you.
Agreed.
At any point in your career,
Agreed.
because you understand the value that each position, each job entails and how that affects the overall success of the film. And that's the biggest thing I see for new starry-eyed PAs is if they come in thinking, oh, I went to college and I shouldn't need to go run errands and pick up dog poop and all this other, which that happens. And that's the problem. And the thing is that we veterans can smell that and see that instantly, Yeah. I mean, like you said, within it's so funny now being on the other side. When you're brand new, you're like, oh, nobody can tell I'm brand new. I could just like pretend that. No, we can tell within like you said, 2 to 3 minutes. Now we can also tell within 2 to 3 minutes if you're good or not. And it's attitude. It doesn't have to do with skill, because getting water is not a skill. I mean, it's not like a thing that you have to learn. Everybody can do it, but there's like an attitude that comes with it for people who are good and who are not. And you can pick it out like within, you probably the same way within 5 minutes. I'm like, all right, I can count on these 4 PAs out of these 20, like, it's like, yeah.
Right. Because there's going to be the 4 PAs who are just hustling left and right. How can I be at any time you turn around, they're there. Waiting.
What can I do? Do you need anything? Blah, blah, yeah.
And then the other ones are sitting around, back at
Can't
Crafty.
Be found. Yeah.
Can't be found, or sitting around Crafty talking about how the director's doing the job wrong and they could do it better.
Yep. Yeah.
I've seen it so often, and and that's why I love, some of these older grizzled veterans, the DPs, the key grips, those departments. I just throw them to the wolves. If I see that on set, I'll be like, hey, that guy,
Go talk to that guy. Yeah.
go do your thing, dude. Go do your thing. And they just start because it's, God, it's such a weird thing on set culture, because it is a carny world. And I actually made a movie about carny, so I have a really good understanding of the carny world and carnies and what they do and how they treat each other. And it's the secret language that you talk, that we could talk to each other, and they'll put you through the grinder until you prove yourself that you belong,
deserve respect.
Yeah. And they're going to beat you up. And in a almost rite of passage kind of way, not in a physical way, hopefully not in a derogatory way, though I've had that happen to me on set as well. I think sets have changed a little bit, hopefully, since my day. But it's because it's so tough being on set. I mean, when I worked on set as a PA, I figured out really quickly, probably after a year of interning and being on stages, and I was working at Universal Studios. I was working at Disney behind the scenes and productions and things like that. And like you said, when I wake up at 3:00 in the morning, I'm going out there somewhere, sitting in the mud while it's raining, while I'm trying to wave people into where they're parking. And I'm like, this sucks.
Yeah.
You know what? I don't think this is what I want to do. I mean, I want to be on set, but this is not what I want to do. So I just jumped from that to post real quick. And I was like, oh no, air conditioning, carpal tunnel. I'll deal with that. And I jumped for that. And then when I started to become a director, and then started, as a post guy, started to go on set and then started to be directing and doing commercials and things like that. I'm like, okay, this is where I want to be. But things that I learned along the way was that at a certain point in my career, the ego felt that it was above doing some menial stuff. Sure. And the crew picks it up. As a director, the crew picks it up. So now anytime I'm ever on set, and for the last 10 plus years, I'm picking up garbage at the end of the day. I don't care. I'll grab stuff. I'll pick stuff up. And then like some of the older, like, what are you doing, sir? Sir, I'm like, it's okay, guys. We all got to move it along. So it's kind of like, why are you picking that up? You're the director. I'm like, no, it's okay. If it's in the middle of the day, no, I have to do a job. Sure. But at the end of the day, we've wrapped. Let me help out.
Yeah. Let me help out.
And I never eat first. I always try to let the crew go before me. So they see that I'm like, no, you guys are busting your balls, go, I want to help. But these are the little things that no one tells you as a filmmaker or as a crew person. There's these etiquettes, these kind of hidden languages. It's almost prison yard like.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I often say, oh, we're like just glorified movers. We move one thing from one side to the other side and we do it again. Yeah, no, there's nothing super sure, after the product is all done and stuff like that, and you don't care about the journey. Yeah, sure, it can be glamorous, but like it really isn't, and
it is for some. I mean, it is for the actors. I mean, and sometimes it's not even that glamorous for the actors because it looks glamorous from the outside, but when they're on the 14th hour freezing on a green screen hung by cables, and they're just like, I got to be super now. Like, what am I doing here? Like, it's like it's
work.
Look, there's harder work in the world.
Sure. Yes, there is.
We're blessed.
We are very blessed.
There's no question. But it is still not what everyone expects it to be. So it's really fascinating that way. Now, the one thing I always and I love what you wrote about in your book was walkie-talkie etiquette. Now, I think when I was coming up there, of course there was walkie-talkies. And I knew a little bit of it because I used to work on some shows for Nickelodeon. So I was never the key PA. I was always, office PA or on set PA, but I wasn't the key PA because, again, not where I wanted to go. Sure. So I never went down that road. But can you talk a little bit about that as a completely secret language? And even to this day, I understand some of it, but as a director, it's not something that I need to understand completely. So can you explain to people what walkie-talkie etiquette is?
Sure. So that's a big thing when you first go on. You're not going to see it for tiny sets because most sets won't be able to afford walkie-talkie. So when you do first get on a set that has walkie-talkies, it can be very jarring. And you're like, what is this thing? At first it's cool. And then at the end of the day, you're like, please throw this in the trash. Because you have you have several people constantly talking in your head. And for people who don't know, the walkie-talkies are a way for things to be moving behind the scenes while things are being shot. And you do it very quietly because everybody has an earpiece in their ear and they can't hear, it's not open walkie, hopefully, and you can't hear things are happening because it's all in your head, on over the walkie. And so there's just a specific way that you answer, respond, and it's very military, honestly, I've heard.
It is.
It's I believe that's where it really came from. But a lot of it is, the way I can describe it is like, if you were blind, like, how would you know somebody heard your message, understood your message, and is working on your message, right? And you're delivering this to, however big your crew is, because everybody is on the walkie, and certain departments on their own channels and whatever. For the most part, people are on channel 1 for production. And so you just have to get really good at being specific and to keep the traffic on the walkie-talkie as minimal as possible as well. So being specific, concise, and so it's a way of efficient communication. And these shorthand ways of talking, this etiquette, allows for this efficiency of talking on the radio. So, and it's hard. It's a lot harder said than done, because there will be something that happens. I don't know, the honey wagon is stuck, and in the middle of the set or something, and you got a new PA who's like freaking out about it because it's his or her responsibility to get this honey wagon out of the middle of the scene, and everybody's yelling at them because it's taking up precious time from shooting, and they're describing this over the walkie, and somebody who is nowhere near the set is like, what the F is going on? And you're just like, take it to two, go on a different channel. But like, you just don't, until you've gone through the ringer and you've experienced that, or you've been on the receiving end to have perspective, that's when you realize why this etiquette is so important. But it's things like when you're asking for a department for something, wardrobe, can you insert what you need? Christine for, and then the other receiving end having to say like copy, so they know that I heard the message, type thing. It's like playing telephone, because you can't see anybody. That's the problem. Sometimes we're all in different parts of the set. I think that's just to give context. We are all in different parts of the set. This could be within driving distance, far away. This could be deep in the boonies, and in because let's say you're doing a big wide shot and you can't see people on set in the scene, so they're all hiding like far, far away. Or somebody who's in a truck who has no clue, is in a fishbowl, has no clue what's going on set. You have to communicate to all of these people in an efficient way, something important or not, so there's just a lot of shorthand for that. And it is extremely jarring when you have never had a walkie-talkie and you get on set and you just want to, like, I don't know, just talk on it like a regular person, but like a telephone, but it's not. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I have specific, lingo that's on there. And as long as you can, kind of get used to that, you should be able to survive being on a walkie. But a lot of this is like practice and utilization.
Yeah, exactly. And it's a new language, and it's protocols and how you do things, and you'll learn pretty quick. That's the thing is,
you learn real quick.
you run real quick unless you just want to get yelled at constantly. So we're like, where's actor A?
Yeah, talent trap.
Walking,
Yeah, where is
walking, we're walking.
walking.
Walking with actor 2 on our way, minute away,
Yeah,
30 seconds away.
ETA of talent. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So.
Things like that. So it's talent won't come out of his dressing room.
Take that to 2. Take that to 2. Yeah. And everybody switches to 2.
And everyone's like, what's going on? Like what's the problem? So now one thing I've been asked this myself and I don't have an answer for it. Maybe you have an answer for it. There is so many secret names, code names for basic things on set. Stinger is an extension cord.
Baby.
Yeah. Baby.
Cheese
apple
plate.
box, cheese plate, brick. All of these things. Why not just say, I need an extension cord? Now I know it's a little longer. Stinger's faster.
Yeah.
But is that why these things were? And then
I don't think so. I think it's just a fast way to decipher something without having to, because the thing is there's like different sizes of certain pieces of equipment. There are different brands of certain pieces of equipment and stuff like that. And sometimes if you just give it like a pet name, that pet name is so different from everything else. It's just easy to identify it. It's so like, I heard, and it changes all the time by region, by location and all. That's the same thing. But yeah, like I heard taco cart, that was another thing. Oh, can you grab the taco cart? But I think that's a Texas thing, there
is look, there's all sorts of new ones. I heard the other day, God, I hope they don't bring in spinning wheels of death for lunch. Have you heard of a spinning wheel of death?
I haven't heard of the spinning wheels of death.
Spinning wheel of death. Pizza. So spinning
wheels of death.
The old DP is like, God, I hope they don't bring in spinning wheels of death for lunch. Jesus Christ. I'm like, what's a spinning wheel of death? And they're like, oh, it's pizza. This and there's one. It's a mean one because he's now passed. Because this actor passed, and I just remember I was on set.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't the Gary Coleman.
Okay.
It was a Mickey Rooney.
Oh.
Do you know what a Mickey Rooney is?
Yes.
Give me just a little creep. It's mean, but these are the things you're just like, wow, man, like how, like I heard, like, give me a Mickey Rooney there. And then the key grip's pushing, or the dolly grip's pushing. And the DP's like, give me a Mickey Rooney. I'm like, I'm sorry, what's a Mickey Rooney? He's like a little creep. I'm like, wow, okay. So it's just this carny prison language, military language that is brutal sometimes.
Extremely brutal. Or a man maker. I heard that one.
Oh, I haven't heard of man maker. What's that one?
When you have to have an apple box and someone has to stand on it.
Oh, yeah.
It's so wrong.
I've heard that as a Tom Cruise as well. Give me a Tom Cruise up. Like, would you just give him a little extra height?
Yeah.
It's brutal. It's brutal. It's not for the faint of heart being on set.
No.
That's
it's very not PC.
No, it isn't. And that was one thing when I was on set, my wife, who's out of the business completely, she doesn't know anything about her business.
Yeah.
She would walk on set while I was directing. She's like, how
is this
allowed? How is everyone not being sued left and right for what's happening being said? And and this is all before Me Too, all that stuff. And I just said, like, it's just kind of,
the culture.
It was the culture. It was the culture. And it is, look, to be honest, it is sometimes a toxic culture. There's no question. On set is a toxic culture. And for females, even worse. There's no question. Like, I mean, I remember I was on a production I was directing, and I saw a female grip for the first time ever. Mm-hmm. And she was wonderful, by the way. She busted her ass and she was great. And I'm like, what does she have to put up with? From the grip department to hang with the grips in 2001.
Ooh.
Can you imagine? You know what I'm saying?
She gotta be tough.
You got to
Yeah,
be so it is, there's a lot of male testosterone running on set, generally
so
speaking.
much. Yes,
It has changed a bit, and I think it is
it
changing for the
has.
better.
Yes.
But I've talked to female DPs. I honestly didn't see a female DP until maybe like 8, 9 years ago, like on
Yeah, I
set.
think, yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
It was just not a thing that you saw very often.
yeah.
But now it's becoming more prevalent, and females are becoming, and people of color and all this stuff are all coming on set, which is great. But it can be a toxic environment. And you as a young PA or young intern coming in have to be aware of that, but understand that there's a little, you got to get a little bit of a thick skin
Yeah,
in our
definitely.
business. Would you agree?
Yes, I completely agree. I especially when you move up the ranks to when you typically get to bigger budgets and stuff, they are run by more older film veterans, and they're kind of stuck in the past, and so you are dealing with it more and more. So then, like if you're on a student project, everybody's like woke and stuff, you know. But
Right.
yeah, so you're dealing with that a lot, and it can be extremely frustrating, but you also have to realize that in order for change to happen, you have to educate. So it's a lot of it is harder to take the time to teach. It's easier to keep doing the same thing or yell at somebody or whatever, but it's harder to stop someone and say you shouldn't say that, or like I don't like, that's not right to do. So it's a slow changing process, but it is changing, and it's unfortunately a lot of this is top down, and until there's enough time of cycling to get new people up to the top to trickle down with new ways of thinking and stuff like that, you're going to run into that kind of thinking. It's just it's not, I wouldn't say it's right. It's a product of the environment and the time period. But yeah, for sure.
Without question. And there's also another thing that is a culture that happens on set, especially if it depends on who's running the set, as far as
Hmm.
either a first AD, director, DPs as well. But there's it can be stressful.
It's extremely stressful.
The set can be a little stressful. And every once in a while, you'll get a veteran who's just really comfortable with themselves, who will play practical jokes on set to kind of release the tension. And my favorite is a good friend of my DP, old veteran guy. He would always have a broken lens in his kit, and first AC or second AC would come up, and he would just throw it at him. And it's like a Zeiss, like an
Oh my
old
God.
Zeiss, and it's busted, and throw it at him. Like, here, put this on the camera and throw it right at him in front of everybody. And oh my God. And you just see this guy's face or
Fear.
girl's face, just white, just drained, like the blood drain. And he falls and it cracks. And then he would play it up. He's like, how could you drop? You've cracked my lens. That's a $50,000 lens. What do you? And everyone's just trying to hold it in. And before the kid has an absolute heart attack, they let him go. So it's almost like a coming of age, kind of like
Yeah,
almost mafia-esque, like,
it
come
is.
over here. You're good now.
Initiation.
It's an initiation. Like, you're good now, kid. Come on in. He used to also have this is when we used to shoot film, a film reel with exposed film.
Oh
And he
no.
would throw the reel at the kid, and the film would go all over the place. And they would just like, oh my God, that was today's dailies. And like, the people would just, oh God, these little things. And
Oh
that's
my
within
God.
departments. Sometimes you'll see that
Yeah.
on front of the whole set, but within departments, there's like little, not say hazing, but just fun, things to kind of
Practical
like
jokes. Yeah. I thought you
practical
were gonna
jokes.
say T-stop. That's a pos where they send
Oh,
the second AC to
go,
go
go.
find T-stops.
That's
Yeah. I've seen that happen in the second AC, like looking the entire day for T-stops and can't find it. Yeah.
I've been looking for T stops. I've called everywhere. No one has a T
That's a
stop.
T-stop.
No,
So mean.
I had once, when I was in school, some old grizzly post online editor, like, TV guy, and some producer. She came on in like just a battle ram and was busting everyone's, just being a complete ass. And I was there as an intern watching this, and the editor goes, oh God. And she was looking at footage from the day before, like, oh God, what happened? She's like, what happened? What happened? She's like, if they would have done double drop frame, it would have been better. So it would have just really sturdied up the image quality so you need double drop frame time code. And she's like, okay. So she went on the next day to set and just ripped why aren't we shooting double? I want my image to be, she was like, and everyone was just like, did you talk to Henry? Because everyone knew Henry did it. Because they're all like, she's like,
That makes sense.
Henry got in trouble, but he didn't care. He had job security. But these are the kind of things that, they're so high strung PAs and interns sometimes that you got to kind of loosen them up a little bit, because they're just like, and also, by the way, when you're that high strung, that's when accidents happen. Yeah. And that's when mistakes happen. And you got to loosen them up just a bit, just a little bit. Now, you've been on set for a while now. Yes. What was the worst day on set for you, and how did you overcome it?
I would say one of the worst days was, this happened not too long ago, about 2 years ago. I think 2 years. When was Snowvid in Austin, Texas? The snow apocalypse that happened. The ice.
I've only been here a year, so I've only been here a year.
I think this was 2 years ago, and Austin had a freak snowstorm. And this was, I think this was.
It'd be January, February if that happened.
That was what it was. It was January, February. And the producers were refusing to shut down the set because where we were currently, there was no snowstorm yet. There was talk of it, and everywhere else in Texas, there were pileups and ice and everything.
Oh, you mean the one when everything froze out? Yeah. The power grid went down.
Power grid went down and stuff like that.
That was a couple years ago. Yeah.
Yeah, and then we were in the middle of it, and it hit, and I just remembered it was both the worst, but also there's elements of it that were great too. At that point, I think the crew knew that it was beyond my control, even though I tried to call it several times, but it ultimately is the producer's call still. And every crew member gave me an article of clothing because we were outside and it was really, really cold, and there was snow and it was blizzarding and everything. And we didn't have enough people. We were moving trucks and it was icy and everything. And luckily it got called later by the producers, but it was a constant just communicating with the crew and being like, hey, I'm sorry, I want to call it, this is the situation, they hopefully will call it soon type thing. And just I think it sucked because I just felt powerless in that situation to ensure the safety of my crew, and the way I dealt with it was just constantly talking to the crew, giving them a play-by-play of what's going on from top down. I kind of did a little hint, if you want to leave, I am not going to stop you type thing, but your safety is important. I think it's important, and please do what you think is the most important type thing. But I am this is what's happening from top down type thing. And to be put in that situation really sucked, because it's people's safety, and
you have no power,
I have no power to ensure. I can say I walk, but that also is not good for the crew either. Then they don't have the one person that's vouching for them, there. So it was a lot of hey, this is what's going on. This is the play-by-play. If you were to walk, I'm not going to stop you from it, and I support it type thing. And hopefully they're going to call. They eventually did call it, but I think despite that really shitty moment, feeling, having the crew, I would tell you, each department gave me an article of clothing so that I wouldn't freeze to death. but like somebody gave me a hat, someone gave me, a jacket, that was happened to be in their car. I looked like this big ass like marshmallow, with like 50 layers of clothing because we were outside and the snow was blowing at us and we were
And you
not
weren't prepared.
We were
You're in
not,
Texas.
none of us. Yeah. None of us were
Texas.
prepared. And then to have later on the director who doesn't understand, that we were doing our best to make it happen, like essentially blame you for a snowstorm and that everything was a shit show. Yeah. But to have crew be like, to stand behind you and say, yeah, it is a shit show because nobody that should have been called, was like nice to have that support. But like that, it's just, that was a terrible situation to be in when people's safety isn't being taken into concern and your whole job as an AD is to ensure the livelihood and safety of your crew and you're powerless to do so. I think that is a terrible, terrible place to be in. Yeah.
Yeah, that's not a good place, which actually leads me into my next question. Are there signs that young interns and PAs and other crew members can actually see when a production is going down quickly? As you could say, like this thing's like, hey, today's not, hey, whoa, boom. We're going to work 18 hours today and not get paid. Like, what are those signs? Yeah, those little things that you just can start picking up on. You and I could smell them. You and I could smell them pretty quick.
No, yeah. Morale is a big indicator, in my opinion. Sure, there's some people who are crankier than other people and tolerance is lower, but I think when you start to have when departments start to talk amongst each other and
mutiny,
yeah, and you can feel an overall dissatisfaction, that's usually a problem. Or I feel like if the call sheet keeps changing a lot, that's usually not a good indicator either. When there's a lot of unnecessary people just yell, that's just also just morale. When people are angry and just mean to each other, yeah, I think those are pretty big indicators as well. Or when you have locations or people who are separate from the production show up randomly and they're not happy, that's usually not a good indicator either, because that means something wasn't cleared somehow and things are about to go crazy.
So let me ask you this. So, because the director obviously should be the leader of the ship, the leader of the captain of the ship. We're moving things forward. Everybody moves around what the director is, he or she's ideas of what going on.
Yes, in theory.
Very much in theory. That's very loose, fluid, if you will. But generally speaking, when you're on a Ridley Scott set,
yes,
Ridley runs the show. Let's just throw that out there. Simple as that, right? So when you have that situation, what are signs that you don't have a good leader on the set? What are things that you've seen? Because I'm assuming you've seen one or two bad directors in your day who have not only hurt the production, but taken out, just not understand how the system works, that they have to make their day.
Yeah.
We can't spend 5 hours on the Scorsese shot because we're not Scorsese and we don't have the budget that we have. So we like how all these kind of things. I'm imagining, as an AD, you've seen directors come up with shot lists, which is, by the way, my favorite thing to do when I work with an AD for the first time. Show up day one, 150 shots. And I just hand it to them and they're just like,
no.
no, that you should just see why, because it depends. And then that also tells me what kind of AD it is. If the AD is going to come up to me and go, Alex, we got to talk about this, man. There's just no effing way we're going to, and I'm like, that's good. Or, we're going to give it a shot. I'm like, okay, I know which kind of AD. And I want the first one. I want the one that says, there's no effing way we're going to do this, but let's figure it out. And let's figure out and I go, don't worry. I always do that. Let's see how fast we can move. I know I'll probably only end up 15 or 20 of those shots.
Yeah.
And then once I say that, they're like, okay, it's not nuts. but I'm assuming you've had that shot list or that storyboard. Sure. So how do you see, what are those things about, what are those signs in a director that you can see that they're just not, they're in over their head?
I think when the crew starts to lose respect for the director, and how I see it is when it goes from, let's see what the director wants, to what do you want? And I'm like, wait, I'm not the director, I'm the AD. When they start to look at for a new leader, that's a problem. So which happens a lot. And
it could be the first AD or the DP. Yeah. Those are generally the two that they go to.
Yeah, exactly. And so once I am like, why are the numbers of questions directed at me have increased significantly? That's when I'm like, okay. Or they start questioning why a lot. Instead of being like, okay, that's what they want, let's do this. Or the eye roll, like, oh, they want this, okay, type thing. That's side conversations, whatever gets talked on channel 2, when you can really quickly pick out when people have stopped. Or when people are trying to leave as soon as possible after a set has wrapped or hasn't wrapped, or they're planning on which bar to go to afterwards, and that is the only thing keeping them from walking off of the set. That's when you realize that the director has lost the crew. But yeah, I think it's when concerns that are being bypassed because I'm the director, and not even considered, get bypassed a certain number of times. That's when you really lose the crew as well. Like, hey, we can't do this because, and then like, whatever, like, I'm the director, make it happen, type thing. That's, if you do this so many times, like, you're going to lose the crew, because that is a quick indicator that you have no understanding of why their job is important, or why their job takes a certain amount of time, and why you're glossing over it. I see this happen a lot with specific positions, positions for that usually are like makeup is a big one, art, things like that. It doesn't happen as much with camera, or even sound, because I think that is when people, especially first-time directors, when they go on to direct, there's a very easy understanding of like, hey, if we don't have the right camera set up, you're not going to get your shot, right? But the other positions are harder to understand the importance of, unless you have done a few films, or you've worked on a set enough to understand the importance of. And I think that's the issue, is that new directors who haven't come up the ranks or worked on a position, it's perspective. And when you lack perspective and don't respect all the positions on set, you will lose your crew. And you will lose your crew, and they will start to look for a new leader. And that leader is usually the DP or the AD. So when I start to get, hey, what do you think we should do about this? Or actor, oh man, if talent is coming to you, that's a bad thing. Yeah. That is very bad. Like crew, okay, because usually the AD has interface with the crew, so that, there's a certain extent that's understandable. But I think when the talent no longer goes to the director and goes to you, the AD, that is a big indicator that things are going downhill fast. Yeah, because the talent should never really need to talk to the AD. The whole job of a director is to talk to the talent. So if the talent, so I revise, put that first. When the talent is talking to the AD and asking,
or the DP,
or the DP, talking to any other crew member about their performance or what they're supposed to do, and it's not the director, jump ship. It's just bad. Run.
Another thing is too, that I think filmmakers listening don't understand, is the importance of feeding the crew.
Oh,
and
yeah.
feeding them well
Well,
and taking care of them and having surprise, in between meals, like, hey, guys, we didn't budget for a full dinner, but we're going to do a walking dinner, or something like that, where, they go out and
yeah.
get some burritos or something to kind of hold them over until they can get to the bar.
Yeah.
It's something, but that's something that it's almost a second thought to young filmmakers. They're like, oh yeah, just get a bunch of pizzas. And like that pizzas kill production. It slows
Spinning wheels
everything
of
down.
death.
Spinning wheel, it slows it down.
Yeah.
It's stuffed on cheese and bread and things like that. I remember an old you remember Dove Simmons? He used to
Mm-mm.
run he ran a course called the 2-day film school. And he
Oh,
was like this just grizzled Roger Corman UPM. And
yes.
oh my God, the stories he would say. And he's like, I don't have a lot of sugary stuff on my crafty table because it will cause sugar rushes. And if it causes sugar rushes, if there's tension, fights will break out.
Yeah.
These are little things that you just like, my mind got blown when I heard these things coming up. I was like, wow, I just never thought about it. He goes, and God forbid if you bring pizza onto a set. God damn, like, like,
Yeah.
so, am I wrong?
No, you're not. And if you're been on set a while and you're really good at your job, you can start, these are the details you notice you plan for. Like I can tell like from lunch, I'm like, okay, we had this, therefore I need to build an extra hour before we're gonna start getting how we're gonna start moving. These are the little details. Or you're like, oh, we ate that. Okay, well the bathroom situation is gonna be a whole thing. Yeah. So it's
Because
just
of the
like,
burritos. Because of
yeah.
the burrito. Right.
Yeah. You start
It's
noticing all these little details.
I
Yeah.
had I had I had a friend of mine on a he was on the set of 24. He was a production designer on 24. And I went on just to visit him, and we were working on a project together, and I just went on to visit the set. And when you walk on set, I just saw Crafty was the most insane Crafty I've had ever seen in my life. And then I stayed for lunch, and there's lobster tail and steak. And I'm like,
Yeah.
what is this? Like, I lived in the indie world, and I was
Yeah.
like, because at that level, you've got to, that's just the way businesses run.
Hmm.
It's
But it's
just such
nuts though. It's
it's
nuts when you
no,
first get on. It's nuts. Yeah. I remember the first union set I got on. It was in Texas, 2016. And I had only done indies before that. And you look at the craft services table and you're like, wow, this is the entire budget of my film right here, sitting here as food.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you imagine a
Yeah.
Marvel set? I can only imagine a Marvel set, like a $200
Yeah.
million movie. I haven't been on a $200 million movie
I
set.
have not either.
Just
Yeah.
can you imagine the amount of just, ah, I can't even imagine. Now, there's one thing that, and this is one thing that you can get really in trouble for as
Mm.
a PA and an intern. And it's something that no one talks to you about: eye line. The
Oh, sitting in
eye,
someone's eye line.
eye line. If
Yeah.
Christian Bale's situation with Shane Holbert taught us anything, and I don't think that conversation was so much about the eye line. I think it was other things
Sure.
going on. And by the way, if you guys don't know what I'm talking about, just Google Christian Bale on set. It's genius, especially the remixes. And by the way, Christian Bale had been on set since he was like 7
Yeah.
or 5. So he'd been, it's not like he's new to a set. Can you explain to everybody what an eye line is and how to avoid getting yelled at by talent, which is the worst thing other than being yelled at by the director or any of the other crew members? Like, if you're being
Yeah.
yelled at by talent,
It's
you're
bad because
pretty
it's
much
super
gone.
public. Yeah.
You're almost gone, guaranteed gone.
Yeah. So an eye line is like whenever an actor is acting, there's a specific area where no matter if you're standing in that spot, the eye line, it's hard for the actor to not to they will definitely see you, and that's extremely distracting. So we are always trying to crew and it's hard. If you've done it enough, you just know to stand in usually where the video village is or something like that, or in the shadows, because if you think about it, if you've ever tried to focus on anything and you're trying to be in a difficult emotional spot, and you can't because a fly is flying around you. That's what it feels like when somebody is standing in someone's eye line. And so it's a frame of vision where you will see that person if you're in that frame of vision. That's the eye line. And so you will accidentally send the eye line. And that's when you'll see people look at the ground, be a tree, like try to not move around so that you're not being a distraction to the performance. And it's very easy to do. And the best way to do it is, in general, wherever the camera is and where the action is being directed, if you're kind of in that, besides the director and the DP and stuff like that, you try to stay away from that area. And courtesy of asking somebody, the talent, hey, is this a good spot or whatever? But if you can see the actor and you can make eye contact with that actor, you are in their eye line.
Move.
Yeah. So that's the best way. If you can watch the scene and you realize, oh shit, the actor's staring directly at me, you are in their eye line. If you can make eye contact with anybody who's acting, that is within their eye line. So,
and then also the other part that kind of tag on to that is being in the shot. How many times have you seen the first day PA or intern has no clue about anything on a set, and they're just literally sitting in the back, in the middle of the shot when the director yells action, and you could just see them like this, like, I got a good seat for this shot. Yeah, because you're in it. And and you hear the DP or camera or the director or the first AD, who get that guy out of the shot? And you just start freaking out. Oh God, I've seen that happen too many times. Even on my side, if I see it on my side before we go, I just can you get that guy out of the shot, please? if I'm in a great mood, if I'm not in a bad, if it's a rough day, I'm going, Get out of my shots.
Yes.
So please just be aware of your surroundings.
Be aware of your surroundings. Yes.
And also that's a safety thing, because some crazy stuff could be happening. The stunts could be going on. A crane could be coming down. Please be aware of your surroundings and what's going on set. And I know that's the job of a first AD to kind of let everybody know, especially if there's a weapon on set or there's a stunt going on set, you bring everybody.
But I think you bring up a good point. I think the thing is that a film is a collaborative thing, and it's up to everyone to kind of do their part and be hyper aware. So it's like safety, anything with safety. I always tell everyone on set, like, hey, I won't be mad at you if you double check triple check whatever I'm talking about when it comes to safety. If a crew comes up and is like, hey, could we do the gun safety again? Could you shout out again that the street is locked or that the street is live or something like that? I'm not going to, under stressful situations, I might appear stressed about it, but I would rather somebody double check my work when it comes to anything that has to do with safety. And but I think collectively as a group, that's the only way for everybody to stay safe, is that if we kind of like a checks and balance system, there is a hierarchy, but people make mistakes, especially when you throw them under that much stress and limited time and limited resources and stuff like that. I think it's up to the entire team to look out for each other. So everybody should be as hyper aware as possible, but it is so easy to become myopic, especially with what you're focused on and doing. And I just think and this has nothing to do with the hierarchy. I think anybody should be looking out for their fellow man, woman on set,
No question. And has to be brought. Yeah. obviously there's, some tragedies have happened in recent years about on-set safety and issues that are horrible. And it happens, stunts go wrong, things happen. I think it's really about safety and trying to, like you say, everybody's responsibility to see something, say something.
Say something. Yeah. Say something. Say anything. Yeah. It can be hard to in any group setting. Groupthink is a thing. So to be like, oh, well, somebody else will bring this up or so, but I don't think nobody should ever assume that, type thing. So it's better to like be annoying and have 5 people bring it up than like nobody bring up and then something happens, so.
Agreed, 100%. Now, I think it's appropriate to start wrapping up our conversation with what is an Abby Singer and a martini shot.
Oh,
because it's, again, carny language. Nobody understands. Any normies out there would like, what the hell, an Abby Singer and Martin. So can we take what an Abby Singer is and what a martini shot is for everybody?
So an Abby Singer is the second to last setup of the day. And people are usually very excited because it's an indicator that we will almost go home. Sometimes it can be, a misnomer because sure, maybe that second to last setup takes forever and you might do like 10 takes of it, but it is just a nice morale booster knowing that this is the second to last shot. And the reason why it's called Abby Singer is Abby Singer was actually a AD, I believe. And he was famous for saying, all right, that was great. But then he would say, but let's do it again type thing. So, and one more, let's do one more. And so they coined the term Abby Singer after him because at any time it felt like they're about to finish, another thing was added right before it. So it was one more right before it, Abby Singer. And the martini, depending on where you are, some people in Texas have tried to make it the margarita or the Texas martini or whatever. But it's the last setup of the day, the martini. And it's important, and it's when you've been on set, you hear it called out. I'm always trying to anticipate the Abby Singer and the martini because these are indicators of letting departments know they can start to slowly wrap up stuff. Because, anytime you've been anywhere, you kind of like move in and you spread out and your things get bigger and bigger and bigger, spread out in space, and having some extra time to slowly pack up your stuff can really make the exit off the set that much faster and more efficient. So I'm always, in veteran crew members will get annoyed if you don't call them because call the Abby Singer or the martini because they're like, I could have been, wrapping stuff. And now I have to, after wrap, spend an extra 30 minutes I could have been doing in between setups, consolidating
having my team wrap up things that are that other setup, breaking that other setup down. Right. Exactly. As opposed to everyone sitting around waiting for it just in case. Now I'm going to ask you a few questions, ask all of my guests. What advice would you give a filmmaker trying to break into the business today?
I think the advice would be to always think about what value you can give somebody before you ask for value from somebody else. So at any space and time, I think as long as you can be invaluable to somebody, helping them on their set, when you're first starting off, donating your time, that type of thing, that pays off. It may not pay off immediately, but you never know 5 years from now, that PA that you were nice to, that you helped out, could be your ticket to another job. And that's not why you do that, so don't mistake and, let's be nice to people so that, 5 years from now it's going to pay off. Yeah. Right. No, I think that's just a principle in life. It's just like people will always, after a set is done and it's crazy and you've all gone through war together, people will always remember how you made them feel. And if you can leave a lasting impression of, hey, when I dealt with this one person, they always made my day better or was helpful or something, you will do great going down the line. So that would, if you want to break in, as a veteran, I will hire people who make my life easier, or just, and easier doesn't need necessarily mean a skill set. Easier can just be like, hey, you made sure I had water the whole day, and you made sure that I knew where my keys were the whole day. That, if I will hire that person over somebody who's had 5 or 10 years of experience that, who gives me an attitude or whatever. And that's the quickest way to get roped and to get to be in with people is if I can feel like you have my back, right? No matter what. And so, yeah, long story is, if you can approach everybody as how can I make your life easier? How can I just brighten up your day a little bit? I think you'll do just fine. So,
what is the lesson that took you the longest to learn, whether in the film business or in life?
That it's okay to walk away. I think this is, and I still struggle with this. I think you'll get to a point when you love your career so much and you love your job so much, you will want to give everything to it, 100 to a detriment to yourself. And you have to realize that if you aren't taking care of yourself, you're going to be useless to everybody. So that means burning out. That means giving more time and overcommitting and stuff like that, or doing projects with people who don't respect you as a person, or as for your time or your safety or your well-being. And it is okay to set boundaries by walking away, and to know that your career is not going to go down the waste. It's not going to be over just because you wouldn't stand for the way you were being treated a certain way on set and you decide to leave. And this is very, very, very hard to do, because when you're on set, especially if you're in a position like being an AD or whatever, you're responsible for many people. It's not just yourself. And so when you leave, it feels like you are letting down not just yourself, but everybody else that depends on you. But in the end, much though we love our job, and hopefully it is your passion, it is a job. And your safety, livelihood, and your peace of mind and mental health is not worth sticking out just a bit more, because that could have long-lasting effects, for your ability to work later. So that's I still struggle with this, just walking away and being okay to walk away. Or
it's not easy. It's not easy.
It's hard, because you, in this industry, it will feel like whatever opportunity that you have is the only opportunity you'll ever get in career. It will feel that way.
Right.
And there will be months where you may not work, and stuff. And in that moment, maybe turning down $100 per day, 18-hour job seems stupid because that's $100, but you're also setting an expectation, right? Mm-hmm. So the hope is, by standing up for not doing that, you are enabling other people to also have the power to stand up for that, so that it sets a standard that is not how the film industry should operate. It's kind of like the whole Me Too thing too. It's like, that's for me. If anybody is disrespectful in that way to any of my crew members, I will walk no matter what, because I am standing up for something and setting the precedent that this is not okay in our set. And I think it gets hard, because you'll be on some incredible opportunities and stuff like that, and you have to make that decision of, is it worth this opportunity, or is this going to actually be damaging, in the future or dangerous or whatnot, So I think that's the heart of it, is walking away. Nobody wants to walk away.
especially at the beginning, you know, and I had to do it so many times with my posts. I like literally just turned away, you know, one of the biggest music video companies in LA, and I was like, I can't work with you anymore. You're just too abusive.
Mm-hmm.
And at a certain point, you just have to say, I'm just going to roll the dice, and generally works out. It's not, you will work again. I mean, it's not like you won't. And if anyone ever says you'll never work in this town again, that's a guarantee that you will work in this town. There's nobody. That means they're so full of themselves.
Yeah.
If it starts off with, do you know who I am? And then goes into
I'm the director. Yeah.
I'm the director, and I'll make sure you never work in this town again. Don't be scared. That's bullshit. That doesn't happen. I've never heard of it happening ever. Anyone getting blacklisted. I'm sure it does happen. I've just never seen it or heard about it. And especially if you haven't done anything wrong, people realize that. And, you know, no one has that much juice. Yeah. Not in today's world. Maybe in the olden days when there was 15 productions going on in the entire country at one time. You know,
sure.
But now there's just too much work, and it's
don't compromise your integrity and compromise things, and just like that. I think that's the hardest thing is walking away is so hard. It's like a bad relationship. You know it's not working.
I don't want to break away,
but I don't want to break up with you because it's comfortable to not.
Oh, and that's a whole other conversation, which is a whole other podcast. And last question: 3 of your favorite films of all time.
3 of my favorite. I mean, it's funny. This question always makes me laugh because all my stuff is not very sophisticated. Well, I love Love Actually.
Fantastic film.
I love that film.
Second best Christmas movie of all time behind Die Hard.
I don't know. I would argue because then there's the debate of whether Die Hard is a Christmas movie or not.
No, it isn't. We had an episode. I had a researcher come on. It has been proven by the numbers Die Hard is a Christmas movie. But go ahead.
Yeah,
it is.
I love that movie. I love Forrest Gump. It's so epic. It's just a epic film.
Mm-hmm.
And then I can watch Shawshank Redemption at any time, any point, anywhere. If it pops up, I will just find myself fixated on it and just watch.
Stop talking dirty to me. That's my number one. Shawshank. Everyone. I know everybody listening just said, "Oh gosh, you said Shawshank." Yeah. No. Shawshank's my number one.
Yes.
Shawshank is you know, I just absolutely adore that film, and it has so many layers, and it's so deep, and it just cuts through so much of the BS, and it's almost as perfect of a film in my opinion as ever been made.
And I'll keep watching, being like, why is it so perfect? And then I'll start watching and then get lost in it and then forget that I was watching it to try to learn something from it. I do that a lot with good movies. Yeah.
And another one that was the one that he did that Frank Darabont did right afterwards, which is Green Mile, is another one of those that just it just hits the right spot. Hits right spot. Now, where can people pick up your book, Get Reelisms?
Sure. So right now, getreelisms.com is the spot. We haven't branched out yet to Amazon. That's a business decision, but getreelisms.com online. I think we also have an Etsy store. So if you just Google Get Reelisms and make sure the reel is REEL, right? You'll be able to find it eventually. Maybe in a year or so we'll be on Amazon and stuff. But for now, it's boutique. And it'll be fun. If you ever go into a rental house in Austin, or I think there's a few now in Los Angeles and stuff like that, you see it, take a photo. It's always fun for me. getreelisms.com is the best way to go about getting it.
Christine, thank you so much for coming on the show and for writing this book. And I wish, again, I had this when I was coming up, and it is invaluable for anybody being on set. It's a survival guide on how to survive on set. Just understanding it's like the Rosetta Stone.
Yes,
it's the Rosetta Stone of film talk on set and how to understand it and everything. So I appreciate you, my dear. Thank you again for all the hard work.
Thank you so much for having me.